Hi, everyone. It's Sarah and Brenda with the Wisconsin Telecommunicator Emergency Response Task Force. I am Sarah Otto. For those of you who have been following our videos and might be a little bit confused, there has been a name change as I recently got married.
Betty.
Yeah. So Sarah Otto, and this is Brenda Wells.
Hi.
We are with the Oak Creek, St. Francis, and soon to be South Milwaukee as well, Combined Dispatch Center in southeastern Wisconsin. We are going to be periodically sharing some brief training topics, tips and tricks we picked up over the years. If there's anything that you would like to see covered, please feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to hear any feedback or suggestions that you might have. We'll be sharing our contact information at the end of this training segment. So today we're going to be doing a brief overview of the required and recommended trainings for WI-TERT members. So in addition to the trainings, we're just going to kind of talk about a couple of the requirements in general and why they exist in case anybody was wondering. So in order to be eligible to join the task force and become a basic team member, you do need 2 years of dispatch experience and to be currently employed by a PSAP. The reason for that is to get through your initial training, be somewhat comfortable in your role. And then unlike other forms of mutual aid, liability doesn't fall on the agency requesting the assistance, but rather the agency providing the resource, which is you as a WI-TERT member. So that's why you definitely need to be employed by a PSAP, because I don't think that anybody, if something were to happen, would want to dig deep in their own pockets and try to take care of that situation. We also like everybody to show proof of personal or agency membership in either APCO, NENA, or the Southeast Wisconsin Communications Resource and Support Group. The reason being that shows familiarity and conformity with national training standards. It shows that you're getting updated, you have resources available to you. The valid driver's license comes into play with your ability to be able to respond to deployments. And once you're deployed somewhere, to be able to freely move around as assigned. With the current immunization, we used to actually ask for your actual proof of immunization. Nowadays, we just have on our updated application form to attest that you're current on your immunizations. There really aren't any requirements for state of Wisconsin deployments, but this really comes into play if you were ever to be deployed out of state. Some other states do have requirements for that.
Kind of like if you go to the hurricanes or something very disastrous down south.
Exactly. So the reason for that is that people working in disaster zones are often susceptible to injury, decreased sanitation, overcrowding, communicable diseases. So while we don't have requirements in Wisconsin, we like to kind of make you aware of this, to make you aware of the potential hazards that do go along with this position. Tetanus and MMR are pretty important for like a disaster zone. Stuff like flu shots and COVID vaccines are completely personal choice. But again, just be aware of the hazards and that you might be in crowded places with a bunch of other people. The FEMA trainings that are initially required are a lot of the ICS sort of things. So all dispatchers should be familiar with ICS because it's the national framework for managing incidents regardless of size, type, or complexity. That helps us operate in a uniform, seamless manner regardless of who we're working with. So the IS 100 is just your introduction to ICS. IS 200 is Basic Incident Command System for Initial Response. That provides further information about ICS and also some NIM stuff, which is the National Incident Management System. IS 700 is an introduction to the National Incident Management System. And what that is a core set of doctrine, concepts, principles, terminology, and organizational processes that enable effective, efficient, and collaborative incident management at all levels. So it's really not just ICS. ICS is actually a component of NIMS. NIMS is a functionality based system employed, or I'm sorry, ICS is a functionality based system employed by NIMS for managing any type of event. So NIMS is the framework, ICS is the tool. And then you also need IS 144, which is the TERT basic course.
And even though this seems like a lot, your agency probably already has had you do a lot of these trainings already.
Mhm.
A lot of them, a lot of agencies kind of require this out of their employees because incident command, if there's an incident and you have mutual aid coming in, you all need to know how to operate together. So not only for the police officers, they have the dispatchers know this too, so you're all familiar with this. So you probably already have this. So don't let this overwhelm you.
As well as the driver's license and the hopefully vaccinations and your initial training and everything.
Yeah.
That should already kind of all be taken care of. So while it seems like a lot, it's really, like she said, a lot of it is already complete. Um, and then most agencies are also doing ICS at the very basic level, because if you practice it with your everyday events, then when something critical happens, you can do it easily because you're used to it. So
Yes.
I mean, we even have officers call out that their incident command of the barking dog complaint. So
I'll be icy.
yeah,
Okay.
all right. So that basic TERT course is probably maybe the only thing that you have to add on to what you already previously have done. And that covers the importance of adequate preparation, both physically and mentally when deploying to a disaster area. It also talks about the overall deployment process, interpersonal communications, and some different factors of working in a disaster area. So then we have the team leader position. Depending on incident needs, we usually try to send deploy a team of 4, with one of those 4 task force members being the team leader. The team leader is responsible for basically being the spokesperson, the middleman between the team members and the assigned contact at the requesting agency, briefing the team on expectations, safety matters, housekeeping items. They kind of report back to the regional and state coordinators with like a CAN report, conditions, actions, needs, and any changes. They are responsible for identifying team member strengths and then kind of incorporating that into the work plan, providing kind of general supervision to the team members there, and then completing administrative paperwork and after action reports. So for this, we request an additional year of experience just to kind of have that additional comfort level under your belt. Some higher level ICS training, so the IS 800 National Response Framework introduction. That's kind of a more in-depth look at roles and responsibilities of various response partners on an incident. So not just government officials and first responders, but also the private sector, non-governmental organizations, community leaders, emergency management practitioners. And then there's also FEMA IS 1200 TERT team leader course that talks about the roles and responsibilities of this position, and the improvement of team and operational coordination and communication. Oh, and in addition, one of the big things with this is a tactical dispatching course. So you either have to have completed an all hazards incident tactical dispatcher or INTD course, which is a federal course that's occasionally offered by or sponsored by the state, possibly through WEM, or Nina's tactical dispatch for the telecommunicator course. That one is offered both online and in person. So tactical dispatching is basically dispatching out in a field situation like a mobile command post or other communications vehicles rather than inside a traditional PSAP like we're used to. If anybody is aware of an equivalent course, please let us know and we can review it to see if it meets the standards and add it, as an additional option. Basically what we're looking for is that it needs to highlight the telecommunicators role within the ICS and NIM structure, provides practice using ICS forms, especially a lot of the ones that we cover in these training videos, the 201 incident briefing, 205 incident radio communications plan, 211 incident check-in list, 213 general message, 214 activity log, 309 log sheet. So you definitely want to get some hands-on practice with that. The course should also discuss field communications and interoperability, and then review the wide variety of dispatch equipment and communication vehicles that are being used nowadays. So basically, this takes those dry ICS classroom trainings to a higher, more interactive level and helps you put what you know into actual practice.
There was a reason why you had to go to those classes.
Yeah. Yeah, I know it definitely, it's one thing to just sit there and read about it and then take a test and then to actually see it in live action and get some hands-on experience. It really kind of makes all the difference.
Yeah.
So those are the requirements. We definitely, regardless of whether you're eligible to be a team leader or if you're more comfortable just remaining in the role of a basic team member, which is fine. Either way, we encourage everybody to never stop building upon your existing knowledge and skills. There's tons of free trainings for dispatchers, just a simple Google search away. So any dispatch related training will help TERT members, but we highly recommend anything that has to do with disaster and emergency management, severe weather, incident command, effective communication. So we'll go through a couple resources that we think are particularly helpful for TERT members. But again, this is really just the tip of the iceberg that's out there. So FEMA is a great source for some different independent study and distance learning courses. There are actually 205 active free online courses. They all provide certificates of completion. They do have additional in-person courses as well. So you can go ahead and like browse through their course list, see if anything is of interest to you. But for TERT members, we definitely recommend decision making and problem solving, effective communication, and the intermediate ICS for expanding incidents and advanced ICS. Those 300 and 400 courses are typically only offered in person. So keep that in mind, but there's plenty of them on there that you could just do from your desk, basically, during your downtime. If there is such a thing as downtime.
Wait, there's downtime?
So the state of Wisconsin training management system is another great resource. There's not a ton of online trainings on there, but this is where you would be able to find those in-person ICS trainings that are offered in your area. We also highly recommend CompT and ComL training, which can be found on here. The CompTs actually provided a particularly helpful role in the Patrick Cudahy deployment in 2009 for the fire, helping establish multi-agency interoperable communications. This might be one that is potentially acceptable in place of a tactical dispatch course because it is very hands-on and gets you familiar with using those forms and working out in the field. So the ComL, the communications unit leader, that's a position within the logistics section of the incident command system. They're responsible for developing plans for the effective use of incident communications and equipment facilities, managing the distribution of communications equipment to incident personnel, coordinating the installation and testing of communications equipment, supervising members of the communications unit like the CompTs, communications technicians, and radio operators, they called rados. So that definitely is a very highly recommended course for TERT members. EMAC is another good site, the Emergency Management Assistance Compact. Some of the ones they offer on there are the practice and implementation of EMAC, and then some just-in-time training for deploying personnel. The National Joint TERT Initiative has a ton of 5-minute trainings available, and those, of course, are all completely related to TERT.
And they're very easy because they only take about 5 minutes or less.
Yep. Supplemental training continues with National Weather Service and Skywarn stuff. They've got regional storm spotter trainings that cover severe weather reporting and safety aspects. That can definitely be helpful since
You're gonna be in the middle of a field somewhere maybe,
Yeah.
or
and the disasters we might be responding to would be weather related stuff, tornadoes, flooding. The National Highway Institute has a good training on traffic incident management responder. And that could be useful for anyone responding to and mitigating a natural or man-made disaster. Another really good one is the Texas A&M Engineering Extension Service, or TEEX. They've got a lot of great online trainings. Some that would be particularly useful for TERT dispatchers would be there's a weapons of mass destruction and terrorism awareness for emergency responders, and disaster recovery awareness as well. So like we said, that's really just the tip of the iceberg. And although there's like hundreds of more out there, we'll kind of stop here and keep it as brief as possible. But we do actually have a huge list compiled of a bunch of dispatch related online training links. So if anybody is interested in that list, please feel free to reach out and we'd be happy to share that.
absolutely.
And even that list is not all inclusive.
No.
I'm sure that we try to update it as often as we can and add to it, but you know, there's more and more out there every day. So as always, please let us know if there's other topics you'd like to see us cover. Visit us on Facebook. Here is our contact information. We'll be looking forward to hearing from you.
Yes, see you soon.
Bye.